Welcome back to Tanium Tech Talks. We're doing a new series today called Tanium Basics. Please join us for our inaugural episode, Console Navigation, No Compass Needed. Welcome back. Once again, this is the inaugural episode of our Tanium Basics series. Today, we'll be going over some of the most basic and common features that many people will initially be introduced to. And it's a lot of things we take for granted over time. With me today is my very special co-host, Jesh Sachs.
Alex, thank you so much. And I am so excited for this episode and for this series because this is, whether you're brand new to Tanium or a Tanium veteran, this series has so much for you. We're going to go through some of these basics. Hopefully you can pick up some new things, but really we just want to introduce you to some of those things that are going to help you find success with Tanium. And today we're covering some of the basics, navigation within the console.
Absolutely. So today specifically, as Jesh mentioned, on console navigation, no compass needed, Jesh will be walking us through navigation of the Tanium homepage because, well, you know, things change over time. Jesh and I have been here about 5 years, and man, we've been through quite a few iterations so far. And I'm not even 100% sure where everything is these days personally, so this is going to be really exciting for me. And yeah, let's see what happens. Jesh, take it away.
Absolutely. No, I agree 100% with the changes. As I was preparing for this, I even found out oh, I can do something this way. So let's go for it. Obviously, this is our Tanium console. It's beautiful. If you've never seen it before, though, this can get intimidating. Where do you look? Where do you click? So really here, let's start out. I actually want to start with the very first part here, environment status, because although we don't interact with it too much, this is an amazing snapshot. So Alex, I'm actually going to kick this over to you. If someone was new to Tanium, trying to just navigate, get their hands on the homepage, what do they need to know about the environment status?
Yeah, so the environment status panel up here at the top can show you several different things right off the rip, right? So one, we're going to see our total endpoints. This is everything that is registered, every endpoint that is registered into Tanium. But it's also going to show online endpoints, which is how many of those endpoints are actually responding at this moment, right? Now, not only that, but we have an operating platform panel, which breaks down just a quick overview of the different operating systems involved in all of those machines that are currently registered and are sending information back to Tanium. Now, lastly, we have our unmanaged network interfaces panel. And once again, this is a very, very quick overview. We get tons of information from Tanium. This is just a quick eye popper, right? But we see our unmanaged network interfaces, which is in this demo environment, we can see it's 3,900 devices that are currently unmanaged by Tanium, but are being seen through other endpoints around those linear chains.
Absolutely. I feel like I glance at this every time I come into the console, but unless something crazy happens, like I go from 1,000 to 100 or 10,000 to 8,000 online endpoints, something dramatic, this is just that, like you said, quick snippet, quick visibility, easy to see. Don't need to interact with it too much.
Yeah, and it's been pretty important in the past, right? So like someone makes a network change and all of a sudden like 30,000 of your endpoints are no longer registering. It's a very quick, easy way to hit the big red button, right?
Well, for sure. And I will say, sometimes I've seen concern where we see two people from the same organization, and one of them will see X number of endpoints online and the other will see Y. So I will say, when you're looking at this, this is controlled by your RBAC rights. So it may look different to different people, different permissions. Keep that in mind. Don't get too stressed if you've got different rights than someone else and this looks different for you and them. All right, moving along. Still in the homepage, we have our question bar here, which, if you've been with Tanium for any amount of time, you know, asking a question, super standard. So here we can start typing, asking all those good questions, getting information from our environment. The one that I see people using more and more, and this one, I guess it's been around for a couple of years now, hasn't it? The search endpoints. Mm-hmm. It still feels so new to me. In this one, we can just start typing and search, whether it be by IP address, computer name. We can pull up a specific endpoint and view that in single endpoint view. Fun thing about Tanium, we get these in two places. So not only do we get these down here, but up at the top, we get that same question bar. and that same search for endpoints, and we can come over here. All right, top navigation. We've got these two. We also have our dashboards and report and quick links. Alex, do you use these very much?
Personally, not as much anymore, but being able to very quickly get to your dashboards and reports. Like if I was still out in operational world, right, and I was still using Tanium, I would be using these all the time. I was constantly having to build reports. I was constantly having to gather certain information. This is such a quick way for us to gather that information and get it in front of our screens, right? That's why we put it up there for ease of use, right? Instead of burying it deep, Tanium recognized that a lot of people are using this as a reporting function, right? And building reports and all these exciting things. So this is far and away, in my opinion, the quickest way to access these.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. Being able to, stays there wherever you are in the console. So being able to very quickly jump to the top, pull up whether it's your question, your endpoint, your report, or quick links. And something fun here, I don't use this nearly as much as I probably should. But let's say I want to know something about how do I find what my deployments are. Well, I can just start typing a keyword and see all of the different menu options with having to go through all of the menus. It's a quick link. So I'm like, oh, I want to go to my deploy deployments. I can jump straight there from this bar. So super fun.
Love it.
All right. Now, making our way continuously. There we go. There's my deployments. Let's jump back to the homepage. All right. So making our way continuously across here, we've also got Tanium Ask. Now, again, this is amazing. We had an episode on this. I still can't get over it. Tanium Ask, if we click in here, is your way to interact with our AI agent. We've got prompts that kind of says, hey, here's what we can do. But you can also just start telling it without knowing Tanium syntax, anything. Say, hey, I have a question. How can I tell what Chrome versions are on Windows? You don't need to know anything about asking a question. You can talk to the agent and it will help you create that question, find your results. 10 out of 10. All right. And then we have these notifications here. Guardian. And then just general notifications. Now, this can get overwhelming. I don't want to jump too much into it. These will be different depending on your environment, what you have there. Guardian notifications are basically, think of them as our celebrity vulnerabilities or issues that are just big things that are out there. And these notifications will look at your environment. Oftentimes they're linked to dashboards. They can tell you about stuff that's happening and how it applies to your environment right now. And your notifications in general are going to tell you, again, about real stuff happening in your environment, potential new Tanium releases, new features that might be applicable. Lots of good stuff here. I would not recommend letting these pile up. Just take a quick peek at them every day, mark them as read, and you'll get lots of good info and stay on top of your Tanium game. Moving on, left menu. This is our last little console navigation. So we've got our home page with our question bar, right? Our top menu here we just covered. Left menu. All right, start us off here, Alex. We've got home and then...
And then, Jesh, we have modules, our bread and butter, right? This list is probably 3 times the size as it was when we first started here. These are all the different Tanium modules, right? Now, depending on your environment, depending on your organization, you may have less, and that's going to depend on RBAC and what services you have. But you can see here, this is a really extensive list. They've done a really good job of trying to name them in a way that kind of tells you right up front what exactly it is you're dealing with, right? Interact, we've been introduced to, but asset, we know that's going to have to do with all the assets in our environment and details. Benchmarking, certificate manager, comply is obviously going to be compliance, so on and so forth. This is really where the meat and potatoes is. And as we move further along, these are individual modules, right? But as we move further along, we're going to learn more about some of the other back-end stuff that we can access.
Absolutely. And I will say, you can do everything 2 ways or more in Tanium. We have our modules here. We also have them for you on your homepage. So choose pick your poison type thing, choose how you prefer, and then you can jump over there.
It's actually one of my favorite things about the console, right, is the ability to do things in more than one way, or at least to get to things in more than one way. You know, everybody operates a little bit differently. Some people don't want to deal with just a left side menu. It's really important to me to be able to get from A to B in more than one way.
Absolutely. All right. So let's keep going. Like you said, these services, these other fun things. We have our data and reporting. This is broken out because this is just across everything, right? Across asset, across deploy, patch, all of our modules, we need reports. So this is our centralized, here's how we're going to find our data. Here's how we're going to build our reports. Once they're built, search for them up here if you want to. All right. And then below that, we have automate. Again, so many of our solutions can be put into automation, into playbooks. So this encompasses so many different modules. And this is our way to take a look at what playbooks we have in our environment, create new ones, potentially run, manage them, having all the fun. All right. I'm going to kick this one back over to you. I'm giving you all the hard ones, Alex.
Now, this particular menu, I believe it's administration, right?
Mm-hmm.
Has been around since I got here. So I used to use this absolutely all the time. It's chock full of really important stuff that you may not use, but you also might use constantly, right? So as you can see here, we split it up into actions, content, permissions, and configuration. And under actions, that's kind of everything going on the back end in Tanium, right? We can see our scheduled actions. We can see the actions that were performed, ring deployment status, deployment plans, action groups, and so on and so forth. Now, content, personally, I love the content section. All of Tanium, and we can talk about architecture on another episode, but it can be broken down into sensors and packages, right? Sensors gather information for us. Packages make changes on endpoints. Now, my favorite thing about Tanium, first day I got it, I found this menu, right? If we were to navigate to the sensors menu, it shows all of our out-of-the-box sensors that Tanium provides, right? Now, you can have custom sensors. We've built custom sensors to do things all the time. A couple years before Windows 11 came out, when they pushed their requirements for Windows 11, we could easily create a sensor to determine whether or not an endpoint was capable of having Windows 11 installed on it. But my favorite part is all of these out-of-the-box sensors that Tanium provides. There's over 1,000 of them, right? And you can actually read the code for that sensor, regardless of, or depending on what scripting language you prefer, right? Some might be written in Python or VBScript or, Bash. But I learned so much about scripting by actually looking into these way back when, right? So let's head back to the administration menu. And the same goes for packages. You can see the kind of the different lines of commands that are used to install different MSIs and things like that. And it's really exciting for me. Now you can also look at your saved questions, history, and quarantine sensors as well. Now, permissions and disclaimer, a lot of this is going to be RBAC based. A lot of this is going to be more for your Tanium administrators and things like that. But under permissions is essentially the role-based access control building blocks, right? So I wouldn't mess with that too much unless you're really familiar with it. We do have a remarkably extensive RBAC control system, and it's pretty exciting to me. Not to mention that's where our API tokens live as well. And last but not least, we have configuration. This is going to be even more administration pieces, right? We have a client status page where this actually used to be a lot of help to me to determine which endpoints were backward or forward leaders. Most people aren't going to worry about that so much, but we also have additional settings as well as subnets and bandwidth throttles, which to me personally has also been very important depending on what your organizational environment looks like.
I love it. Thank you so much for running that one down. I was I was not looking forward to having to go through all that. I love how you did it. All right, I'll take the next one. And this one is a little bit more of those shared services. So these aren't necessarily a specific module or solution. And I'm actually going to hop back here so you can kind of see the difference. Our modules are going to be a specific workflow, deployments, right? Compliance, etc. These shared services support multiple of these. So we have different ones from client management to defining your endpoint criticality or user criticality to help add context to other solutions, direct connect to your endpoints. We could run down this whole list. We're not going to spend too much crazy time on it, but you're going to have some good services in here that you may want to get jumped over to every once in a while just to see, hey, how is this configuration impacting me? So we have those. And then finally, guide. And remember, two ways. Here's our guide notifications on top. We also have them all here. And you can configure as well. How do we receive these notifications? How do we group them? All the fun things. All right, jumping back home, we've covered a ton of navigation, just really quick. Day to day, if I'm saying, what do I want you to remember for today? Alex, what do you want our watchers / learners to take away?
My biggest thing personally is always going to be Interact, right? I love Interact. I love the underlying Tanium technology that all of this was built on, including the natural language parser. Um, Coming from a guy who used to have to work in sims that all had their own syntax language, all had these little tips and tricks that you had to remember. Tanium has been the easiest way for me to gather information in a true production environment, right? By using Interact, you can almost just ask it what you want, right? Like, I want info on operating systems. It'll give you some information back, or at least put you on the right track. Not to mention that question builder, which has been around for so long, but it never seems to get quite enough love, right? Because it's so easy to use and it's so easy to ask these really complex questions of your environment, right? I need to get information from endpoints that ABC that have XYZ installed, and that could be a question of 10 sensors long, right? And using the question builder is the easiest way for me to, one, see what I'm doing, not lose track of what I'm doing, make sure the syntax is correct. I see the most successful Tanium users using this.
Absolutely. And just to show how easy this is, I know we're getting a little bit into it, but literally I can start typing keywords, computer name, computer serial number, operating system. What else do we want to get? Do we want to get the IP address?
Hmm.
Right. And now all of a sudden, instead of having to write the question, like you said, I just start typing keywords, it writes it from me. And if I want to get it from my Windows machines, well, let's go is Windows. Oh, Windows. I can type.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, for me, this was great because using that interact text bar, right? If you have a pretty long sensor or a pretty long question, you start losing track of what you've asked and things like that. And before here with the builder, before you ask it, you can see this on the right side, right? You can see exactly what you're asking.
Exactly. You track it, you ask it, boom, it's perfect. That is
What
amazing.
about you, Josh?
You know, I think there's so much that you could look at within this, and I get decision paralysis when I see something like this. Where do I go? Right? I think what you said, knowing that you can always come to this question builder and start asking questions to just get information, but then know what your role is, right? You can ignore things that they're probably blocked by RBAC, but maybe not. You can ignore things that you don't need. So let's say I'm an admin who mostly does patching. Well, don't worry about everything else. Just make sure you know how to get to your patch solution, right? Make sure you're looking at the notifications that come up here because they're probably going to be relevant to you. And don't be afraid to explore. Just start clicking around, start jumping in. The only final one I would say too is these little shortcuts up here if you've been a longer term Tanium user. Being able to be anywhere. I'm over in, we're going to jump back into deploy since we've been there. I want to now be able to jump up to ask a question. Well, I can hit my little shortcut key. This is going to tab me directly there. I can start typing. Or maybe I want to see a report. Again, tab there. I can now start typing in to search for my report. So super fun stuff.
Thank you, Jesh. Thank you I mean, this was your idea, right? I love the idea of a Tanium Basics series. People are often asking us for, that's when you need the most help, right? Is when you're brand new. So thank you so much for putting this on today. Can't wait for the next one. Maybe we'll start delving into module specific content, things like that. I'm really excited because this series can go anywhere. So thank you so much for joining us today on Tanium Tech Talks once again. Thank you for joining us for our inaugural episode, Console Navigation, No Compass Needed. And we can't wait to see you again.